2 years ago, Fran and I went to Memphis to join guitarists from around the world to be inspired by and learn from Tommy Emmanuel. When he plays the guitar, he sounds like a band because he plays the bass, the rhythm, and the melody parts all at the same time on one guitar. It's not uncommon to hear highly accomplished professionals talk about giving their guitars away after hearing him play. We stayed at the iconic Peabody Hotel, and I got the chance to play something publicly and be accompanied by Tommy. Many would see this as an opportunity. I was terrified. I decided to sing and play a song titled, "I Don't Look Good Naked Anymore." The strategy was to do a number that was so funny, no one would pay any attention to my guitar playing. But at the last minute, I changed my mind. Instead, I sang a song and played it that I wrote, titled "I Just Don't Get It," which is a commentary on the political craziness we are all experiencing. I apparently struck a chord, pun intended, because Tommy interrupted his own program to talk about it. By processing my own frustration through music, I began asking myself, just what didn't I get? What I didn't get was, how is it possible to disagree with the same person or people on a broad range of unrelated issues? Don't people have different opinions on different issues? What does climate change have to do with gun control, or nuclear proliferation, or poverty, or affordable health care, or education, or voter suppression, or Black Lives Matter, or authoritarianism, or Brexit? What I discovered, and what I would like to share with you today, is the single human quality that shapes and explains our approaches to all issues. I remembered saying, children learn what they live, and realize that children first experience intimacy and being governed in their family, with their values and views about family being absorbed unconsciously through experience. For example, my son, when very young, heard our next-door neighbor screaming at his two children. He turned to me and said, "You would never treat a person that way." He didn't say treat him that way, or a child that way. He generalized it to include all people all the time. Then I noticed people pay attention to different things and give different meanings to the same things. You would think this would generate a variety of perspectives, but instead, we find a significant number of people with the same perspective on a broad range of unrelated issues. Why is that? I believe that empathy is the underlying quality that shapes and explains and usually predicts our approach to all issues. If we are empathic, we are open to and concerned with the impact decisions have on people. Therefore, those of us with a wee bit of empathy tend to support policies, practices, and people that do the most good and or the least harm to people. If we lack empathy, we are not concerned with the common good and are concerned with our own interest and fear losing what we have in a complex, diverse, and rapidly changing world. In fact, we can become quite agitated if the common good is paid for by the commonwealth. Because we fear change, we desire protection from loss and favor strong leaders, laws, law enforcement, and military. Fear also makes it easy to ignore the Sermon on the Mount and focus instead on the need for stoning to death in Leviticus. It's convenient to say that both can be true at the same time. In other words, we can be motivated by empathy and the fear of God and follow the law. After all, Doesn't Scripture tell us to love our neighbor as ourselves? Invariably, there is a fork in the road, and we must choose between empathy and fear. For example, slavery was legal and supported by religion. I noticed a dominant pattern with friends and family. It appears that people are a little more open or closed, collaborative or competitive, empathic or authoritative, motivated by love or fear, and dedicated to the common good or their self-interest. Take the George Floyd tragedy. Some saw with their own eyes an officer kneel on a restrained and handcuffed man's neck until he died. They interpreted this as murder and abuse of power. When they remembered seeing similar situations on TV and researched past cases of unarmed black men being shot, they concluded racism was the underlying cause. On the other hand, some people saw another black criminal being caught and resisting arrest right after the crime, which was then followed by rioting, looting, and Black Lives Matter and Antifa-affiliated activists engaged in pitched battles with the police and National Guard to further undermine the rule of law. As one person put it, this is a control and power issue and has nothing to do with racism and inequality, which, by the way, was confirmed by Fox News. I also observe how people with empathy are open to a broader, more nuanced perspective and can recognize and respond to hassled and abused African Americans, as well as young, frightened, and poorly trained cops, as well as innocent storekeepers and overwhelmed politicians. So now I get it. We keep disagreeing with the same people about unrelated issues because the issues are not the issue. Let me repeat that. We keep disagreeing with the same people about unrelated issues because the issues are not the issue. Our trying to make the world better for people involves changing the way things are now, which frequently results in some people losing some of their power and or privilege. If they believe, as many do, that there isn't enough of what's important to go around, they are threatened when others want more. If we lack empathy and are not particularly concerned for the common good, but very concerned about any attempts to take away our money through taxes, our freedom through regulation, our security through gun control, our opportunity through affirmative action, our power through women's lib, our eternity through secularism, and our way of life through same-sex marriage. So I finally get it. People, programs, and principles that empathize with other people and help them achieve their needs will always be resisted by those who believe those people haven't earned it or fear that they will lose something in the process. So what do? These people are friends, family, and fellow citizens. Managing these relationships and caring for them even though they don't care is the only effective way to live well together. And the only way to do that is by focusing on their fear rather than all the issues that scare them. And this requires empathy.